Hello everyone, welcome to another video. This is actually again a follow-up video for O-levels accounting multiple choice questions, and in this one we will be solving October-November 2019. Previously I solved for multiple choice questions, again paper one for May-June 2019. Again, this is going to have 30 multiple choice questions, and you guys have 1 hour to answer those all 30 multiple choice questions. Please note that the variant that I am solving is actually 1212. So let's get started with the first multiple choice question for this video. So multiple choice one. Again, multiple choice one is actually, if I'm looking at it right now, it's very similar. It's actually quite similar to May-June 2019 first multiple choice question. That was again about bookkeeper. That one was asking something different. This one is asking something different, but again, that's about bookkeeper or bookkeeping in general. So let's look at this question. Which task would be carried out by a bookkeeper, right? So you have to understand what type of tasks are carried out by bookkeeper. Primarily speaking, they are responsible for recording the transactions, entering the transactions into companies' books. That's why they are called bookkeeper, right? The name tells you bookkeeper. So let's look at the options. Comparison of financial statements between years. That is actually not done by a bookkeeper. It is possible in some companies it might be done by a bookkeeper, but then the company has to be really small, right? So this is usually option A is usually done by financial analysts, right? So it's not going to be, it's not a job of bookkeeper. Then preparation of financial statements, no, that is job of an accountant. Then provision of information for decision making. Again, this is not a task carried out by a bookkeeper. Provision of information for decision making is not saying anything. It's just saying that there should be some information available to make certain decisions. So option C is also incorrect. Therefore, the correct answer to multiple choice one would be option D and option D. And if you read the option D, it's saying recording financial transactions, which very well is job of a bookkeeper, right? So the correct answer to multiple choice one would be option D. Let's look at multiple choice two. Why does the owner of a business calculate profit, right? So now let's say if you're an owner of a business, you're running your own business, just think about, it's a very common sense question. Why would you calculate business profit? Like why do you need to have a profit? And the answer to that question actually would be very apparent. Is actually multiple choice. The correct answer to multiple choice two would be option A, to find the return on capital. If I look at all these other options, to find the total expenses, I mean, that's just information, and that you need expenses to calculate business profit, yes, but this is not why you would calculate profit, right? I mean, you just need to know the expenses, but primary reason would be to see what is the return on capital. How much money did you made by investing in your own business or someone else's business? And then if you look at option C and D as well, to know how much he can borrow from the bank, that is, that is job of the bank. Bank will decide if they want to give you loan or not, right? And to know the loan interest he can afford to pay, again, that's very something done by the bank. So multiple choice three is which transaction will increase both assets and capital by the same amount, right? So assets has to go up and capital by same amount. A credit customer, so it's talking about credit customer, it has nothing to, it is actually a liability. So you can completely eliminate this option. It's actually talking about liability. There's an asset account here, which is there might be an asset account which might be affected here, which is cash, but you don't need to worry about that, I think. So multiple choice, so option B, goods were sold at a higher price than their cost price. So what is happening here? This is a very tricky one here. They are selling goods at a higher price, which means the business receives more cash, which is an asset account. So that is going up, right? So increase means going up. So one part is satisfied. So let's look at what else happens here. goods were sold at a higher price than their cost price, this also means that the company will make higher profit. Company will make higher profit, which in turn contributes to increase in capital. So the correct answer to multiple choice 3 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 4. So multiple choice 4, a trader purchased a motor vehicle for his business using a check from his personal bank account. How was this recorded in the books of the business, right? So it's asking how this would be recorded in the books of the business. So of course, option A and B are actually incorrect because the motor vehicle would be debit. So that's just one part of the transaction, right? So it's either option C or option D. Now, some students might go for option C because it's paid by check, and therefore the bank goes down. But it's option C is incorrect in this case because he used personal bank account, right? It's not reducing the company's bank account, but it's reducing the personal bank account. And the question is asking, how is this going to be recorded in business books? So when he introduces, because it's a motor vehicle, when the trader introduces the motor vehicle or puts the motor vehicle bought for business, it's actually increasing capital. So therefore, the correct answer to multiple choice 4 would be option D. Now let's look at multiple choice 5. On May 1st, Wahid issued an invoice for a credit sale of 10 shares to Yasser at a list price of 40 each. Trade discount of 10% was deducted. Yasser returned 5 shares to Wahid on 15th May. What was the value of the invoice issued to Yasser? Right, so it's asking you basically what would be the invoice, the amount of invoice issued to Yasser. So he purchased 10 shares at the beginning, right? So 10 shares, basically that means 10 times 400, 10 times 40 basically means 400, right? 400, and then he returned five shares as well on May 15th, but invoice would have issued earlier at the time of the purchase, right? So what was the value of the issued to Yasser would be 10% discount. That means we have to take 90%. So 400 times 90% would be 360. And the correct answer to multiple choice 5 would be option C. That would be the value. That would be the value of invoice that was issued to Yasser. So $360. The correct answer to multiple choice 5 would be option C. Let's look at multiple choice 6. So multiple choice 6, which document will customer issue to inform a supplier of an overcharge? And that's going to be actually a debit note. So the correct answer to multiple choice 6 would be option B. Multiple choice 7, on 1st October, the bank column of Kim's cash book showed an overdraft of $120. She was then notified that a check $80 received from a customer in September had been dishonored, right? So that basically means that that a customer of Kim paid her $80, and then the customer didn't have enough money in the bank, and the check never cleared, right? So the Kim never received $80 actually. That's what it means. So what is the question? The question here is asking you, what was the balance of the bank column in Kim's cash book, right? So now you have to understand, it's asking you what would be the bank balance in Kim's cash book after recording this dishonored check. So that would actually be 120. So Kim will have to add back $80 to 220, and that would come about as $200. Right. So now, because this is an overdraft amount has increased, and overdraft is a liability. So the balance would be credit $200. So the correct answer to multiple choice 7 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 8. So multiple choice 8, which statement about a bank reconciliation statement is correct, right? So it's asking about which statement is correct. It is part of a double entry system. That's not true. It is prepared by the bank to compare the cash book balance with the bank statement balance. Now, this is actually wrong, because why would it be prepared? Okay, fine. Even if you accept that bank prepares it, but bank doesn't have access to your own cash book, right? The business's cash book is a private cash book. Why would you give it to bank until and unless you want a loan from the bank, right? So they won't have it and they won't do it. It's not their job, right? So option B is actually incorrect as well. It is prepared by the trader to compare cash book balance with the bank statement balance. Now, this sounds very reasonable. So I would say the correct answer to multiple choice 8 would be option C, but also let's look at option D. It is only prepared when the bank account is overdrawn. This is clearly wrong. Why would a trader only have a bank reconciliation statement prepared when the trader has overdrawn account, right? This is not necessary. This is not an imperative thing here. So the correct answer to multiple choice 8 would be option C. So trader prepares to compare his or her cash book balance with the bank statement balance. Let's look at multiple choice 9. So multiple choice 9 is basically, let's read it. At the end of Leroy's financial year, it was decided that the balance on the telephone expenses account 340 should be split 90% for business use and 10% for personal use, right? Which journal entry records the closing of the telephone expenses account at the end of the financial year. So it's about closing, right? So the debit side would be income statement and credit on telephone expenses. So option B and option D are going to be incorrect based on what the question is trying to ask me, right? So we are down to 50-50 now. And telephone and income expenses, right? So the correct answer to multiple choice 9 would be option A, because it is a portion between 90 and 10%. So 10% of it is drawing. So 340 times 10% is actually 34. And 340 minus 34 is actually going to be 306, this is for drawings, and 306 is for income statement, right? So the correct answer to multiple choice 9 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 10. So multiple choice 10 is asking, the following account appeared in Amna's ledger, Syed's account. So Syed is actually an account receivable because it has a debit balance at the beginning, right? You see it has a debit balance and it's purchasing something. In other words, Amna is selling goods / services to Syed, right? So which statement is correct? Again, which statement is correct? Let's read one by one. Option A says on 1st September, Amna owed Syed $400. Amna doesn't own anything to Syed. Syed needs to pay $400 to Amna. So this statement is actually wrong. On 14th September, Syed purchased goods $600 on credit from Amna. So Syed purchased goods $600 on credit from. This sounds very correct. So the correct answer to multiple choice 10 would be option B. It refers to this transaction on September 14th. So fact 1 is correct. Syed purchased goods. That is also correct because Amna is selling and Syed is purchasing. So this fact is correct. The amount $600 is correct and it's on credit. That's why it's on the debit side. On Amna's ledger actually. So this statement is actually correct. So the correct answer to multiple choice 10 would be option B. And if you look at option C, Amna never paid anything because Amna doesn't need to pay. Syed needs to pay. And on 26th September, Syed did not allow any discount. It's Amna who allowed discount. So correct answer to multiple choice 10 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 11. So multiple choice 11 is a supplier's account in Shilpa's ledger showed a balance owing on 1st October of $3,400. In October, Shilpa purchased goods of $860 and returned goods of $55. During the month, she made a payment of $2,000. What was the balance on the supplier's account in Shilpa's ledger on 1st November, right? So you can actually simply create a T account for this and understand what is happening here, right? So the balance owing, Shilpa's ledger showed a balance owing on 1st October, 3,400. So Shilpa has to pay a supplier. So it would have a credit balance of 3,400 in the beginning. Then Shilpa purchased 860 of goods on credit, so 860 on the credit side. She returned goods worth of $55, so that's going to be reduction. And then she also paid $2,000 to the supplier. When you add debits and credit, you will have a difference in here, and that difference would come to about as 2205. 2205. All right, so this balance the difference will be here on the debit side, but of course, when you brought forward it will come on the credit side. That's also very important because you have to determine which is debit and credit, right? So option C and D is not correct. It's either option A or option B. Now, to determine if it's debit or credit, you need to understand, as I say, you need to understand the nature of it, whether it's accounts receivable or an accounts payable. Now, in this case, it is an accounts payable because it says that Shilpa owes someone, and that someone is a supplier. It's a supplier, right? So it's going to have a credit balance. So the correct answer to multiple choice 11 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 12. A flat above a trader's shop was rented out at $90 a month from 1st July 2018. At 30th June 2019, the rent receivable account showed entries for rent received from the tenant totaling $900. What was the balance of the rent receivable account on 1st July 2019? Now, there are multiple ways to do this, but two of the easiest ways would be first thing, you can draw a T account for it. But there's another simpler way that I would go about, which using simple logic, is that now the rent is $90 a month, right? It's $90 a month. It's talking about the years. It's talking about a 1 year period, right? So it started renting from 1st July 2018, and it's asking you the balance of rent receivable account on 1st July 2019. This is also hinting towards something which says that there is a rent receivable. There's something that has yet to be received, right? A rent yet has to be received. So the tenant hasn't paid rent in full yet. So 90 times 12 will give me will give me $1,800. No, it's not going to. It's not $1,800. So 90 times 12 would give me $1,080, right? So this is the total amount that a trader should receive, but trader has only received $900, right? So the remaining balance here would be $180 actually. So now the correct answer to multiple choice 12 would be $180 on the debit side, which is option D. Why on the debit side? Because it is a receivable. The trader has yet to receive money from its tenant, right? The correct answer to multiple choice 12 would be option D. So let's look at multiple choice 13. So multiple choice 13, Hannah owed Alan $1,800. On 1st June, Hannah paid $1,300, and the remaining balance was written off, right? What entries did Alan make on 1st June? Right, so $1,800 was the total due, $1,300 was received, and $500 went into bad debt, right? So the bank account will go up by $1,300, which this is correct. So it's either option A or option B. It can't be C or D, right? So now we are down to 50-50. Now let's look at what would happen to Hannah's account. Hannah's account will not be debited. It will be credited by $1,800 because Hannah has paid off. She has cleared her dues. Right, so the correct answer to multiple choice 13 would be option A. $1,300 bank account will go up, bad debt debit $500 and credit $1,800. And if you always see debits are always going to be equal to credit, so both the debit entries are 1,800. 1,800 equals 1,800 on the credit side. So the correct answer to multiple choice 13 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 14. So multiple choice 14, at the end of her financial year, Link reduced the provision for doubtful debts by $500. Which journal entry records this? And this is a fairly easy question. If you do not understand anything about provision for doubtful debts, I do have a video on my channel explaining provision for doubtful debts, so you can go and watch that video for your better understanding for your exam purposes, right? So the correct answer to in this case for multiple choice 14 is actually option B. The company will debit provision for doubtful debts and income statement for $500. So the correct answer to multiple choice 14 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 15. What will be treated as capital expenditure? The annual depreciation on office premises, no, that's an expense. The cost of building an office extension, that is actually very much a capital expenditure because you're trying to extend the office. Cost of repairing is a revenue expenditure, and purchase of new computer for resale is actually a very different thing. It's not a capital expenditure. It's something that business has purchased for the purposes of reselling. So it's completely very different. It does not fall into category of capital or revenue expenditure. So the correct answer to multiple choice 15 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 16. So multiple choice 16 is which methods of depreciation are used for these non-current assets, right? Now you have to determine which depreciation method is being used for these different non-current assets. So a non-current asset consisting of a number of small items, a non-current assets which gives the same benefit each year. This is SLM, straight line method. A non-current asset which gives more benefit in the early years for its use, that is reducing balance method, right? So for 2 and 3, so for 3 is reducing balance method, so it's this is correct. Straight line, this is correct. And for first one, a non-current asset consisting of a number of small items, revaluation method will be used. So the correct answer to multiple choice 16 would be option D. If you can understand two of these, if you can answer only, like if you can determine the method for any two of these, then you can actually attempt this multiple choice question fairly very easily. You don't need to understand or know which method is being used for all the 3 assets. Only 2 will be more than sufficient to answer the question in this case. So multiple choice 17, let's look at multiple choice 17. Machinery 20,000 was purchased on 1st January 2017. The provision for depreciation of machinery account at 31st December 2018 showed the following entries, right? So this is the account for provision for depreciation, and it's basically showing depreciation expense that has been accumulated since the date of purchase. The date of purchase was 2017, and the balance is being shown at 31st December 2018, which is basically the provision for so this is the entry, and then it also shows the beginning balance at the end of 2017, right? So which statement is not correct, right? Which statement is not correct? So annual depreciation on machinery is calculated at the rate of 20%. This is actually correct because when you multiply 20,000 by 20%, it will give you 4,000 depreciation balance for depreciation expense for 2017, which is shown in to provision for depreciation account as a beginning balance for 2018. So that is actually correct. So option B, the balance of the provision for depreciation of machinery account is transferred to the machinery account. Now this is actually not correct. Why would you transfer provision for depreciation provision amount in the provision of depreciation to the machinery account? This is not done. So the correct answer to multiple choice 17 would be option B. But if you look at option C and D for the sake of your own comfort and to be sure, so let's look at that. The diminishing and reducing balance method of depreciation has been used. That is actually very correct. Reducing balance method is being used because when you see the depreciation expense for 2018 is not the same as 2017, right? So they are using reducing balance method. The net book value of the machinery on 1st January 2019 was 12,800. That would also be correct because when you calculate 20,000 minus 4,000 minus 3,200, that will come to 12,800. So the correct answer to multiple choice 17 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 18. So multiple choice 18, Joseph depreciates his fixtures by 20% per annum using straight line method. A full year's depreciation is charged in the year of purchase. During the year, repairs to fixtures of $400 were debited to the fixtures account. Now that is actually incorrect. What was the effect of correcting this error, right? So the company, what it did was, like, the company debited $400 to the fixture account instead of expensing it. Right. So what you need to do, and the company charges 20% depreciation. So 40 times 20% or 80%, let's say, would be the amount of adjustment that comes to $320. $320. The company needs to decrease 320 from fixtures account and decrease, because it's going to increase the expense, it's going to decrease the profit by the same amount as $320. So the correct answer to multiple choice 18 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 19. Again, multiple choice 19 is fairly easy. All you need to remember is sales ledger control account items. And if you know which account, which does not appear in this case, is actually discount received. So the correct answer to multiple choice 19 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 20. So multiple choice 20 is Carlos is preparing his sales ledger control account. Where will you obtain information about contra entries? And that would be journal ledger, because that's the primary book where you will find it's a general ledger. Look at the term general ledger. It includes everything. All the account entries are in general ledger, or journal, I would say, sorry, journal, not general ledger, journal. So the correct answer to multiple choice 20 would be option B. Let's look at multiple choice 21. After preparing her income statement, Emma found that a bad debt of $1,500 should have been written off. No adjustment had been made for rent prepaid by her of $2,800. The draft profit for the year was $35,000. What was the profit for the year after these adjustments? So $35,000 minus $1,500, because it should be written off, so it's going to reduce the profit, plus $2,800, because this is a prepaid expense. It should not be calculated when it should not be expensed out when calculating the profit for the year, right? So 35,000 minus 1,500 plus 2,800 gives me 36,300. So the correct answer to multiple choice 21 would be option C. Let's look at multiple choice 22. Wow. So multiple choice 22, the following balances were extracted from Sabina's book on December 31st or 31st December. What was the capital employed? This is a little tricky in a sense that first you need to understand what is the equity in here. You have to calculate equity, and that would be sum these two numbers and deduct the sum of these two numbers. So 65 plus 13 minus 9 plus 7. And that gives me 62. So 62 is actually the equity, right? Is actually the equity or capital, but it's asking about what is capital employed. Now, assuming non-current liabilities are also part of capital, are actually also part of capital employed, simply because it might have a bank loan, and bank loan is used to finance the business, right? So it's used to finance the business. So 62 plus 7 is 69, and that would be actually the total capital employed by the business. What is the capital employed? Capital employed is actually the amount available to the owner to use for the business, right? So that would be 62 plus 7 equals to 69. Therefore, the correct answer to multiple choice 62 would be option C. Now, let's look at multiple choice 23. Sarah and Fatma are in partnership. Sarah is entitled to a partnership salary of $30,000 per annum, and the balance of the profit is shared equally. The profit for the year was $180,000. What was Sarah's total income from business, right? So it's asking about total income. Now, I understand a few students might just go like 180 times 0.5 plus 30 plus 30, and that will give you the answer. But that will actually be an incorrect answer. And if you're lucky enough, you might not even see that in your answer there. It's asking about total income. So what is income? Income is like it's also included your expenses. It's general income, right? So the first thing that you have to do here is 180 plus 30. You have to add the expense of salary into the profit, because that's not income, that's a profit. And income and profit are two different things in accounting. So 180 plus 30 gives you 210, and then times 50%, which will give you 105. So the correct answer to multiple choice 23 would be option C. Let's look at multiple choice 24. So multiple choice 24, a sports club provided the following information. What was the amount of subscription shown in the income and expenditure account, right? So received during the year were 12,000. Now, assuming these were received, $1,200 should have been received, right? So to start of the year were also received, so minus 1,200, and the amount that are supposed to be received at the end of the year plus 800, that will give me about 11,600. So the correct answer to multiple choice 24 would be option A. Let's look at multiple choice 25. Multiple choice 25 is the statement of financial position of a sports club, including the following. What was the total current liability? So it's asking about liability. So something paid in advance, subscription received in advance is a liability. Subscription received in arrears, no. Bank is an asset. This is an asset. Amount owing to a supplier, this is also a liability. So 200 plus 100. 300 is actually the correct answer. So the correct answer to multiple choice 25 would be option A. So again, multiple choice 26, a trader's sales were $300,000. The markup was 25%. What was the cost of sales? This is fairly easy question. All you need to do is 300,000 divided by 1.25 will actually give you cost of sales, and that will be $240,000. So the correct answer to multiple choice 26 would be option D. Let's look at multiple choice 27. What is not voluntarily deducted from gross wages? Not voluntarily deducted, right? So that would be income tax. From your wages, companies must have to pay, or you must have to pay taxes to the government. So they are not voluntary. You cannot escape them. You must have to pay them. So the correct answer to multiple choice 27 would be option B. Multiple choice 29. What is current rate? How is current ratio calculated? If you remember the formulas, it's just option C, current assets divided by current liabilities. Multiple choice 29, which ratio measures liquidity? And that's quick ratio. Again, multiple choice. The answer to multiple choice 29 would be option C. So these were fairly two easy questions. Actually, if you know the formulas, you can very quickly answer them. Actually, just make sure that you double check your answers, but they are fairly very easy questions. Multiple choice 30, which accounting principle is referred to in the following statement? An accountant should not overstate profit and should not provide for all possible losses. That is only called prudence or conservatism. That's what accountants are. They are not allowed to overstate income or understate expenses. That's what the accounting principle is. So the correct answer to multiple choice 30 would be option B. I hope this video was helpful to you, and thank you very much for watching this video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and comment down below on what topics are bothering you, and I will try my best to make a video on that. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends if you think it was helpful to you in your exam preparation for O-levels. And once again, thank you very much for watching this video.